Magnavox Odyssey. Magnavox Odyssey was the first commercial home video game console, released in 1972. It connected to a television and used simple electronic circuits to create basic games involving dots, lines, and paddles. It did not use cartridges, and many games required physical overlays placed on the television screen. Its graphics were extremely simple, but it established the basic idea of playing video games at home. Atari 2600. Atari 2600 was released in 1977 and helped turn home video games into a major consumer market. Its most important feature was the use of interchangeable cartridges, allowing players to build a collection of different games for one console. Games such as Asteroids, Space Invaders, and Pitfall became closely associated with the system. The Atari 2600 also helped establish the joystick and single-button controller as familiar gaming equipment. Intellivision. Intellivision was released by Mattel in 1979 as a competitor to the Atari 2600. It offered more advanced graphics and controllers with a directional disc and number buttons. The system became known for games that attempted to recreate sports, strategy, and arcade experiences with greater detail than many earlier consoles. Its unusual controller design also showed that home consoles could experiment with different ways of controlling games. ColecoVision. ColecoVision was released in 1982 and became known for bringing arcade-style games closer to their arcade counterparts. Its hardware was more powerful than many competing systems of the time, and its version of Donkey Kong was particularly well regarded. The console also supported expansion hardware, giving Coleco a way to extend its capabilities. Although its time on the market was relatively short, it became an important part of the early home console era. Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo Entertainment System, usually called the NES, was released in North America in 1985 after launching in Japan as the family computer. It helped rebuild confidence in the console market after the major video game crash of 1983. Games such as Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Metroid established franchises that would continue for decades. The NES also introduced a more standardized controller design that became extremely influential. Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis, known as the Mega Drive in many regions, arrived in the late 1980s and became Nintendo's major rival during the 16-bit era. Its faster hardware and strong focus on arcade-style games gave it a distinct identity. Sonic the Hedgehog became its most recognizable character and helped Sega compete directly with Nintendo. The Genesis also showed how important marketing, exclusive characters, and a strong brand could become in the console industry. Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or SNES, was Nintendo's answer to the growing competition from 16-bit consoles. It offered improved graphics and sound while continuing the company's major franchises. Games such as Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Super Metroid became defining titles of the era. The SNES also introduced more advanced controllers, including shoulder buttons that later became standard across the industry. PlayStation. PlayStation was released by Sony in 1994 and helped move console gaming into the era of 3D graphics and CD-based games. Sony originally became involved with Nintendo in an attempt to develop a CD-based system, but that partnership ended before the PlayStation was created as its own console. Games such as Final Fantasy VII, Gran Turismo, and Metal Gear Solid helped establish the system as a major platform. Its success also made Sony one of the most important companies in the gaming industry. Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 was released in 1996 and was named after its 64-bit processor. Unlike Sony's PlayStation, it continued using cartridges instead of switching to CDs. Its 4 controller ports made local multiplayer a major part of the system, while games such as Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time demonstrated what three-dimensional console games could become. The system's analog stick also became an important tool for controlling 3D characters. Dreamcast. Dreamcast was Sega's final home console and was released in 1998. It introduced several features that were unusual for its time, including a built-in modem for online gaming and a memory card with its own small screen. Games such as Sonic Adventure, Crazy Taxi, and Shenmue showed Sega experimenting with different styles of gameplay. Despite its technical strengths, the Dreamcast struggled against Sony's PlayStation 2, and Sega eventually left the console hardware business.